Howdy folks, grab you a cup of coffee, drag you up a chair and set a spell and we'll whoop up a batch of fresh blueberry muffins for breakfast. We're going to use all whole ingredients when we make these. There are no artificial flavors, no artificial colors, no preservatives. And when you buy a box of muffin mix or you buy a blueberry muffin that's already made, chances are it's going to have artificial blueberries in it. And artificial blueberries contain antifreeze. Now, if you happen to have a pet, you probably know how dangerous and toxic antifreeze is. So why in the name of heaven would you buy something that has antifreeze in it and eat it? Blueberries are a superfood and they contain all kinds of antioxidants. They have wonderful health benefits. So go with the fresh blueberries. Now you can also use a frozen blueberry in this recipe. That's perfectly fine. Just get whole blueberries that don't have anything added to them. And you can get them in any grocery store any time of the year. We have 2 cups of blueberries, 2 cups of unbleached all-purpose flour. And do get the unbleached flour. It's better for your bones and better for your teeth. And it has more nutrients. That bleaching process really destroys any nutrients that are in the flour. We have 2 whole eggs, a cup of sugar, half a cup of milk, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and I've also switched from just regular old table salt to an all-natural sea salt that is again unbleached. It still contains all the minerals that we need, and it doesn't cause as much bloating. It's way better for your heart than the regular table salt that's bleached out. And we're going to use a half cup of butter. Use real butter, not margarine. Again, you want to get away from the food additives and the chemicals and the preservatives and the artificial stuff, especially when you're baking from scratch. And we're going to add some real vanilla extract. Now, I am going to top these with a crumb topping today. That is totally optional, but I just have a half a cup of flour, a half a cup of sugar, and about 3 tablespoons of butter that I'm going to put my crumb topping. A lot of people add a little cinnamon to it, and when I'm making a crumb topping for something that has apples in it, I definitely add cinnamon, but I'm not crazy about the cinnamon flavor with the blueberries. If you want cinnamon, about half teaspoon is probably enough. And I'm going to start by mixing up my crumb topping, and then I'm going to set it aside because I don't want my muffin mix to have to sit while I'm mixing the topping. And I'm just going to use a fork in a small bowl to mix it. And it's not real hard to mix because you're making a crumb topping. It's not like you're trying to get it creamy. Just dump the stuff in the bowl. Kind of mix up your flour and your sugar a little bit. You can use brown sugar for this too if you want to. It would be perfectly fine. And like I said, this is optional anyway. I just think it makes them look pretty. Just take your fork and kind of mash up that butter and it'll be pretty easy to cut in. This is softened. I've had it out of the refrigerator for a couple of hours. You can set it out the night before you're going to make these if you're going to make them for breakfast. Okay, that's what you want right there. You just want it chopped up kind of fine so that your butter is mixed in with your flour and your sugar. It's really simple and it just takes a minute. And you can add this crumb topping to any muffins. It's the same thing that they put on streusel top pies. If you were using it on a pie, you would probably want to add the cinnamon to it. Like I said, I'm not crazy about the cinnamon with the blueberries. I'm going to set that aside and start my muffins. You can mix these by hand. They're not real hard to mix. You can use a hand mixer to mix them. I'm going to use the stand mixer because it is easier. And I'm going to start with my butter. And again, this is softened. I left it out of the refrigerator for a few hours, and you can leave it out overnight if you're going to make these first thing in the morning. Turn my mixer on here. I'm going to add in my sugar. And I'm going to turn this up a little bit because I want to get this sugar and butter kind of fluffy. Okay, that's what you're looking for there. And now I'm just going to add my eggs in, and I'm going to add them in one at a time and continue to beat it. And I'm going to beat it, you know, this is where I'm putting the air in my mixture. So I'm going to turn it up kind of on high. I want to fluff it up at this point and get some air into it. You can see there how fluffy that is. That's what we're looking for. I've got my eggs and my butter and my sugar combined really well. I'm going to add my baking powder and my salt and my vanilla now. You do want at least a teaspoon, maybe a little more, depending on how much you like vanilla. And I'm going to mix this again really good. Okay, that looks pretty good. At this point, I'm going to take it out of my mixer and I'm going to fold the rest of my ingredients in. I'm also going to turn my oven on now, 375, and let it start preheating. And what you want to do is add your flour about half at a time and your milk about half at a time. And you're going to alternate them. I'm going to put in about a cup of my flour and fold that in. Looks pretty creamy. I've got down in the bottom of the bowl and got all the dry flour and stuff out of the bottom of the bowl. Now, the very last thing I'm going to add is my blueberries. And you definitely want to add your blueberries last because you don't want to crush your blueberries up mixing in your other ingredients. Fold them in the same way you did the flour and the milk. Make sure again you get down in the bottom of the bowl because you don't want the last couple of muffins not to have any blueberries in them. Okay, this will make about 12 large muffins and at least 18 regular size muffins. And you can just use a greased muffin pan if you'd like, or if your muffin pans are as well seasoned as mine are, I do recommend little cup liners. I've had mine for at least 30 years, and I think this one I actually got at a yard sale. So they are very well seasoned. When you have 4 kids, you make a lot of cupcakes and a lot of muffins. And you're just going to scoop some of your batter into your muffin pans. And you want to fill them about half full, maybe a little bit more. That may be too much. If you get a little too much in them, you can always take a spoon and even them out when you get all your batter put in the pans. Just kind of get them, you know, about even. Make sure they're all a little over half full, but you don't want any of them really past 3/4 full, or it'll just get all over the muffin pan and not be in the cup. Okay, now I'm just going to take my crumb topping and sprinkle a little on it. There's no need to go overboard with this. I probably only used about half of this topping, but that's okay. I'll just put it in a little baggie and stick it in the refrigerator because it's good on all kinds of muffins. Like I said, it's good for a pie. And we're gonna put these in the oven for 15 to 20 minutes. We're making small ones, so 15 minutes will probably do it. And we'll be back when we take them out. It took exactly 20 minutes to bake these in my oven. Now, if you don't use the little cup liners, you'll want to let these sit in your pan for 15 to 20 minutes and start to cool so that you can get them out of the pan. And it's a good idea anytime you're baking anything to sit it on a rack to cool it. That way it doesn't get soggy on the bottom as it cools. And if you're new to baking from scratch or baking period, I want to give you a little warning here. These are not store-bought muffins, and they are not a muffin mix. They do not have any preservatives in them at all. Now what that means is you can't throw these up in your cabinet and come back and eat them in 3 or 4 months. In fact, at room temperature in the summertime, I probably wouldn't keep them more than 3 or 4 days maximum. Now you can put them in the refrigerator and keep them for a week or a little longer. If you live alone and you want to make these and pull them out and eat them 1 or 2 at a time, you can freeze them. Just make sure you wrap them up really good, because you don't want your homemade blueberry muffins to get all freezer burned. Spoiling is not usually a problem I have around here. If we don't eat them all, somebody will stop by and eat them. But today, like I said, I think I'm going to wrap a few up and take them and find somebody to share them with. And I think, now don't tell her, but I'm going to wrap a few up and take them to my mother-in-law. She's at work today and she lives alone and she doesn't cook very often, and she certainly doesn't bake very often. And it'll give her something special for a few days for breakfast. So if you know somebody like that who doesn't get stuff like this, share a few of them. If you share a few muffins with somebody today, or even do something else that's just kind of unexpected and nice, it'll bring a smile to your face and to their face, because when you do something nice for somebody that you don't have to do, it does make you feel good. And there'll be 2 more people in this world smiling if you do that, you and the person that you were kind to. And if we all smiled a little bit more, the world will be a much better place. Thanks for dropping by the Hillbilly Kitchen. Don't forget to click like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. I'm going to go eat some of these muffins.